Hey, hello. Um, there's a few things I want to talk about today. The first subject matter is, well, I'm going to categorize it as trash journalism. Excuse me, trash journalism. Um, I'm not going to talk so much about the tabloid press here, although that's a subject I obviously have strong views on. I've spoken about before. Rather, I'm going to talk about online trash journalism. I don't actually regard it as journalism at all, but I'm only putting it under that umbrella in order to make it clear what I'm talking about. Because that's what people tend to associate it with is so-called yellow journalism. So I was reading a report about In the Eye, which is a respectable paper, which is a relatively decent paper overall, about the former wrestler Hulk Hogan, very famous celebrity, who is having a legal battle with the site Gawker over an alleged sex tape. Now, just to be clear, I don't really care that much about Hulk Hogan, so what I'm going to say isn't so much out of sympathy with him. He's taken legal action against Gawker on the grounds that they invaded his privacy. He slept with his former best friend's wife, apparently. That's the background. Um, I couldn't care less. It's not my business, and I would concur with him that it is a private matter. That's between him and his friend. Now, what Gawker is saying is that because he boasted about his sexual exploits, this is a free speech issue. You know, the whole concept of free speech sometimes gets thrown around a bit, and this is a good example that a trashy site like this could actually talk about free speech in order to justify publication of a sex tape. Um, if I had any sympathy, it would be for um, well, it's the thing is, I think it's a stupid thing to do to film yourself having sex if you're a public figure. That's it's not a clever thing to do. But nevertheless, what the report says, if Hulk Hogan wins his case, Gawker will go bankrupt. Now, I think that would be fantastic. According to the report, Gawker started off in New York in 2002 by British-born journalist Nick Denton. This is what the report says from the Eye. Gawker began as a gossip blog, publishing irreverent coverage of celebrities and the media elite with a witty, snarky tone that was widely emulated. Allergic to PR, unrestricted by corporate powers, it grew into an empire of 7 sites, including the sports blog Deadspin, gadget blog Gizmodo, and feminist blog Jezebel. I'm not familiar with Deadspin and Gizmodo, but I've heard of Jezebel. I've heard it's a pretty unpleasant site. Mr. Hogan's sex tape was just like any other story, Gawker Media president Heather Dietrich told CNN. Mr. Denton and his family still own more than two-thirds of Gawker Media. The remainder is held by the company's employees or former employees. But if Gawker loses the Hogan trial and is forced to pay the 100 million, it may have to bring in outside investors to survive. The reason I say I hope it loses is not because I believe Hulk Hogan has a particularly moral case. He's saying he wants to do the right thing. Um, from what I know of Hulk Hogan, he is quite a brash figure, and he probably has shown off his sexual exploits. And obviously, you sleeping with his best mate's wife isn't exactly a virtuous thing to do. But the point is that it shouldn't matter to us outsiders. Like I say, that really is between him and his friend. I do firmly believe that public figures' private lives should be private, although they also have a part to play in that in not promoting their private lives. So celebrities who go on to reality TV shows opening up the gates, I would say they're partly to blame for doing that. Um, but this sort of so-called journalism, it's a bit like TMZ. It's just trash, basically. And I do find it rather unfortunate that so many people subscribe to this sort of rubbish. There isn't much more to say, really. I'm just really venting in general about sites like TMZ. I mean, the problem with these things is sometimes, okay, you can argue that the celebrity themselves is bringing their name into disrepute, but that sex tape, for example, I assume the woman he slept with isn't a public figure, therefore it is an invasion of her privacy. Now, this thing about free speech, that it's a bizarre argument to me. I don't know how showing a sex tape on a news site constitutes free speech, because it's not about formulating an opinion. It's not a debate subject. It's simply it's material. It isn't a speech. It's material. So I think often, especially in the States, free speech can go to extremes. Just to be clear, I do believe in free speech. I think it is a hallmark of democracy. But far too often we're seeing sleazy so-called journalists use this defense. It's happened in Britain as well with the Gawker press. And I think that's very unfortunate. Everybody has a right to privacy, public figure or not. Now, Hulk Hogan was stupid, obviously making sex tape. I don't know what he expected, being the high-profile figure that he is. But I would argue he still has privacy. Um, and that's between him and his friend. All this is going to do is exacerbate the problem. It isn't going to humiliate Hulk Hogan so much as it will humiliate his friend. And why would the friend deserve that? It's like being hurt twice. First of all, by his friend's disloyalty, and secondly, by having this plastered over the media. Um, Incidentally, about the rights and wrongs of adultery or sleeping around, so on, it's not my place to judge anyone else. I'm going to try and avoid doing that. The real issue here for me is that it is just trash. It's I don't know how so many people could support likes of this and TMZ. I mean, it really shows what a voyeuristic world we sometimes live in. And I know that's a cynical thing to say, but you check out any of these videos, they'll have millions and millions of views. You check out an intelligent documentary or a really inspiring video, chances are it will have a few thousand views. So, if YouTube is a barometer of public taste, then it does sometimes make depressing viewing. Um, and I'm not sort of pontificating here. I'm not trying to be Puritan. Um, but to me, it's just trash. Basically, that's it, really.